Hello and welcome to another episode of We're Not Wizards. My name's Richard. I'll be your host for 2019. Joining me tonight is a person who, you see somebody's the life and the soul of the party, and then you get annoying people that come along to a party, or you get the quiet ones that are in the kitchen at parties because there's a song. Sometimes you get somebody that brings along the entertainment. So, if you're looking for a bit of fun and entertainment at your party, you might want to speak to my guest that's going to be on the show tonight. Because joining me, I have Anne Jones, and Anne Jones is from Cards or Die, which could sound like a hairdresser's, but we're going to get into that. So, hello, Anne. Thank you for joining me.
Hello, you're right. I was worried which one I was going to be there. I was like, the annoying person at parties. I was like, oh God, that's me.
Well, we could see.
It's not. It's not me.
We'll see how we get on, and then we could change that.
Can decide at the end. Yeah.
Well, we could put it to a public vote, like X Factor or The Voice.
I think that's a good idea.
I think it might need to be. How are you doing? First of all, you well?
I'm good, thank you. Yeah, I'm having a great week. I'm working at the Armouries in Leeds this week, so I'm having a fab week. It's been really good fun.
That's cool.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah.
Nice and chilled or relaxed, or is it spending kind of just fun days, fun times?
Crazy. So I'm doing the board games for them, and I've done like war-themed games and wartime games. All right. So a lot of the games are quite simple, really, because they're like wartime ones, kind of snakes and ladders and that sort of thing. But I've also taken a load of modern ones which are based on charades, because obviously that's been popular. It's a Victorian parlour game. Well, it became a Victorian parlour game. So I kind of took that and brought modern versions of it. And they've been going down really well. But yeah, so far this week I've had 662 people through the door.
Wow.
So it's been crazy. It's been fantastic as well. But yeah,
now, what we like to do at We're Not Wizards is we like to find out a little bit about your history. So we like to find out a little bit about your dark and distant past.
Right.
Before we look at your kind of, you're obviously very busy present. And then before we jet off into the parties and kitchens of the future, that's rubbish. So do you want to tell us a little bit about how you got into the hobby in the first place?
So I've kind of always played games from being little, and then just carried on really. And then I think a few years ago, I kind of picked back up some of the games that I had. So the likes of Escape from Atlantis and that sort of thing that I'd always really enjoyed. And then obviously you start to realise that there's a lot more out there, don't you? There's a lot more interesting and complex games. And so that's a bit vague, isn't it? But and I'd got friends who played games. So my friend Ailey is quite a big board gamer, and she introduced me to quite a few games. So we used to go over there and play. We paid Ticket to Ride a lot, and Big Book of Madness as well we played, which is really super hard. But what I find quite hard. But so we played loads of different games there, and then just kind of played more and more different games like Carcassonne and that sort of thing. And then when a lot of board game cafes started opening, I would visit them when I was somewhere, like if I'm over in Liverpool, we'd go to, I think it's Sugar and Dice, isn't it, in Liverpool? Yes. And take the kids, and it's just a good thing to do together as a family, I think. I think once the children got a bit older, I kind of did more. Sorry. When
you were picking up games like, say, Escape from Atlantis, did you get the newer versions?
Well, so
or did you get the older versions?
I had kept my version from when I was a kid, So
No
I had
way.
kept the games that I really liked. So I'd kept like, say, Cluedo, and we still have Masterpiece, which is a really old one, and Escape from Atlantis I loved. I've always loved that. So mine's an original.
Is it the one with the plastic bits and the
and the
little plastic octopus and the sea
and
monster?
the swirler, the Atlantean swirler. I'm doing it with my hand for the benefit of people on a podcast. That's useful.
It's great podcasting.
It's great
Great
content. So and I've always played that, even like right throughout, through being a teenager and a young person. And I think as my kids started to get bigger, we played that, and then we were like, there must be other games by now, and so and I've ended up with quite a big collection of retro games. But also, like, we bought the new version of Survive Escape from Atlantis,
and
I've got Survive Space Attack as well. Yeah, and they're really good. I think they're just as good as the original. It's just quite nice to have that like vintage kind of box.
I really like the real kind of plastic pieces from Escape from Atlantis, because when it was in the middle of the room, it was actually in the middle of the room. It was pretty. It was nice and solid.
Yeah,
and I just like the fact that little boats had little white sails.
Yeah,
and you could tell how old the copy Escape from Atlantis was by the number of white sails that were left.
Yeah, and also they don't stay in anymore. So I've got the sails, but they just flop out of the boat.
Turn them upside down like that. This is rubbish. This isn't good at all. When did you go into the hobbyist side of board? Because to me, there's board games which are the popular side, but there's also the hobbyist side. I wouldn't, when did you start to kind of jump into kind of like the hobbyist side and look at your Carcassonnes and your Catans and stuff like that?
Yeah, that was a lot later, really. That was kind of, say, the last 5 or 6 years, I'd say. Yeah, that's much more recent. Previous to that, perhaps a little bit earlier than that.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard. Time's so difficult to keep track of, isn't it? But yeah, probably 6 years ago or so. And prior to that, I just played like whatever we could find. And when you don't know, it's can be a bit of an intimidating kind of hobby, can't it? Because there's so many games, and if you don't know what you're doing and you don't know what you're looking at, it's quite hard to choose.
I think there's complicated games. I think there's depending on which trouser leg you kind of go down in terms of games, that if you end up going down the high level strategy games or something like that, I can imagine can you imagine the first game you pick up is Twilight Imperium because you really like the front cover?
Yeah.
Can you imagine sitting down with that and realising that you're about to commit you and the kids to 6 to 8 hours of moving spaceships? So I think that's why some of them are still the gateway stuff, as they say, is still popular. But
and I don't see any harm in that. Sometimes got no issue with the term gateway as such, but the way that it's used sometimes is a bit frustrating because it's sometimes a bit dismissive, isn't it? It's like, oh, that's a gateway game. Like I say, it's some sort of rite of
training
passage.
Wheels or something like that.
Yeah. Oh, well, obviously you don't play that anymore. Yeah, and it's like, well, do you know what? It's a good game and I still play it and other people like it. And I think that's the thing with what I do. There are lots of games that I have that I wouldn't particularly sit down and play, but other people like them. And that's the thing, isn't it? It's about different people like different things and, that's fine.
That's fine. Yeah.
Yeah, it's absolutely fine.
What kind of games do you like playing yourself then? I mean, if you're settling down for a night, I suppose it depends on the company. I mean,
it does. Yeah. If it's just me and Mark, we'll play we've played a lot of Azul lately. We really like that. Yeah. I mean, personally, I prefer something that's not overlong. I don't want to be sat for 4 hours playing the same game. I'd almost rather play a couple of really short games. So Crossing or Exploding Kittens or I don't know, shorter ones, and then play it like Pandemic or something or Forbidden Island. and then maybe play some other short games afterwards, you know, rather than just have one game all night.
Yeah, I think, yeah,
isn't it?
And it's, I suppose, if you're short for time as well, if you want to be kind of like, it's one of these things, you can start off a game and not actually finish the game.
Yeah.
And you can end up like getting 2/3 of the way through and say like, look, it's quarter to 12 at night. We need to pack this up. Otherwise we're not going to get a game. Whereas if you're playing maybe something like Sagrada, have you played Sagrada?
Yeah, I love Sagrada. I'd quite like to get that. So good. Yeah, it's really good
fun.
Yeah.
But if you're playing like that or Azul, I mean even games like Isle of Skye and stuff like that, they're kind of, you can pick them to the table and you know you're going to kind of get a full game kind of all the way through. That's kind of appealing.
Yeah, I'd rather do that. I'd rather kind of finish a game. And like some of the ones that I've been teaching people this week, so the likes of, you know, Abalone and like Mancala, which like and Nine Men's Morris, which like really traditional board games. But I like those because there's not very many rules, so you can learn it really quickly. But actually there's lots of strategy and you have to think what you're doing and you have to see what the other person does and adjust according to them. Do you know what I mean? I like that.
So were you doing what you do? Has that, I mean, I know the excitement is maybe looking at the new and the shiny, as I say, like your Sagrada and like your stained glass window Azul. I don't know what they're calling it, but do you go back into kind of like older style games when you're looking, you know, for instance, if, you know, you see you're working at the Armoury this week, did you go back and research kind of potential games that were kind of fitting in with a theme that were kind of older style when you're looking at like teaching stuff?
Yeah, I did do a bit, but I did an event 2 years ago, which was a World War One event, which we decided to do at the Abbey Inn, which is a pub I do a regular thing at, a monthly board games night. And we made this decision, me and the landlord, we were like, oh yeah, we'll do World War One. It'll be really exciting. And then we did the Facebook event, we did all that. And then I went away and I was like, oh my God, there are no games left from World War One because it was too long ago. So what have I done? I texted him and he was like, yeah, I'm really struggling. I was like, oh no, what have we done? But we managed to find some, but goodness me. So I had some from that. I've managed to find one on eBay from 1914 called Hearts. And it's the most gorgeous little thing. I mean, in terms of, the thing is for me, in terms of a game, it's not the greatest game in the world. It's not Sagrada, do you know what I mean? You roll the dice and you've got to spell out the word hearts. That's it. That's the game. That's it. But the instructions are all like, you know, it's like this jolly and exciting game. And you're just like, it's so gorgeous. And this family at the Royal Armoury spent about an hour and a half playing it yesterday with their because they had little children with them. Yeah. And they loved it. They absolutely loved it. They thought it was brilliant. And I just thought that's what matters really, isn't it? It matters that you sit down with people and you connect with them and you have a nice time. And it doesn't really matter whether it's a, you know, intense strategic game with, you know, 4 phases to everybody's turn. It doesn't matter to me. So how'd you get in to what you're doing? And what my job?
Yeah, how did you get into kind of like starting up Cards or Die? And
so, like I said, I really enjoyed board games, and I was going to quite a few board game cafes in different places. And initially, I thought to myself, because Leeds didn't have a board games cafe, and I thought maybe that might be something I could look at doing. And I looked at it a little bit, but I wanted something a bit more flexible and a bit less, you know, I didn't want to be tied down to a premises. And I thought my initial thought was I would just do pop-up events and see how that went, really. And that's how I started doing like pop-up events at pubs and cafes. And then since then I've done some corporate training, and I've designed a board game for a charity in Birmingham to use for training. So so I've done all sorts really. And like this week I'm at the Royal Armouries and I've got like lots of different bookings, weddings, all sorts. So it's been more a kind of organic do you know what I mean? I kind of had this idea that I would do pop-up events.
Yeah.
And then as time went on, you know, people would say to me, oh, you should do this, or oh, you should do that. And so I kind of just added to my repertoire. And I had an idea at the start that I would do lots of festivals. But that hasn't really panned out, really. Because I don't think I properly thought that through, because obviously if I'm doing a festival, it would mean working all day and all night on my own. So and also that has to reflect then in what I charge. So then when I quoted festivals, they were a bit like, oh, we were going to give you some free tickets. It was like, nah,
I can't do that.
It's not going to work for me, that, because I need to eat. So,
exactly.
You know, it's a great offer.
Pay for internet. Yeah, thanks for that. Answer away.
I get loads of exposure, apparently, so that's all right then. Do everything for
people
free.
die from exposure. I love that. I love that thing.
Yeah, I love that response. Yeah.
Would they die from exposure? You know.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
You mentioned corporate stuff.
Yeah.
Is that quite a hard sell? Does it take a particular type of kind of mindset? Because I can imagine, I guess, do the businesses approach you, or do you actively go and seek these kind of businesses out and say, look, have you ever thought about doing this? Or is it kind of, is it kind of organic, kind of word of mouth that somebody said to somebody?
The bookings I've had have been through word of mouth. So it's been a mixture of me saying to contacts, I want to get more corporate bookings, and them saying, oh, I know someone who'll be up for that, and giving me a name, or that person then approaching me. Yeah, I think you're right. I think it is a bit of a hard sell, and it's hard to get in. Do you know what I mean? To get those contacts can be quite challenging. But when you do it, people really enjoy it, really get a lot out of it. Like, you know, like team building wise. I mean, I did, the last one I did, we played cooperative games. So we played Escape Zombie City.
Yeah.
And it was just really good. You know, they worked as a team. We swapped people around. So they worked in different teams. And it was really good, really positive. And I don't know, I think, it's a really good thing to do, because I mean, before I did Cards or Die, I was a teacher for 17 years. So, I've got that background in teaching. So,
what kind of teacher were you?
I was terrible at that. I was an English teacher, really rubbish one. Really? Yeah, no, I taught English. So, and I was second in department. Secondary.
Primary or secondary? Secondary as well.
Yeah, big ones. I loved it.
So did you? Did you just one day just say, I've got to move on, I'm going away?
I loved the teaching. I love teaching kids, but all the other stuff that goes with it, I don't love that. Like that is stressful and unpleasant, and it detracts from your actual job. So the majority of the time ends up being, felt for me that I was proving I was doing what I said I was doing, instead of being left to get on with it. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, I've been doing this for a long time. You know I can do it. Just leave me. Let me get on with it. But they won't. They're just on it, and they observe.
So like your league tables and assessing and then, like, you know, they're not. You can say, well, look, this kid here, they came back last weekend after the long weekend and said they sat down and read a book for the first time, and you're like going, that's amazing. But according to his grades, he's got 54%. So according to the stats, he's not actually done anything, kind of thing.
That's
whereas,
meaningless. Yeah. And they say things like, well, you can't really measure that. If you can't measure it, no one's interested. And that, to me, that, like you said about someone going away and reading a book, or asking to borrow a book off me that they would never have read independently, that's not measurable, but that's great. You know? Yeah. And I don't believe that everything has to be measured. I don't think that's true. I think, you know, how children feel about going to school, how they feel about learning is just as important. And that's something that gets neglected, I think, really.
I'd love to see I'd love to see kind of board games introduced into an educational environment. I think there's a few lessons that could come in just to make it easier.
Definitely.
And it's cheap. It's such an inexpensive kind of training tool. They seem to be going for these online computerized versions. Definitely. It's like last term my son comes home and says, you're going to have to book lunch for us online. It's like, what? So you have to go online into an app to book what you have for lunch on a day-to-day basis, instead of them just rocking up at the, like when you and I were going to like high school or whatever, you just
went
rock
along
up
with your tray and chose what you wanted.
do you know what I mean?
The limited choice of slop.
Exactly. I'll have the stodgy horse pie, and I'll have the sticky something. And is that custard? It could
the
be
chocolate
custard. It could
custard.
be radioactive.
The chocolate custard. Yeah, that pink custard.
Yeah.
We had that. I don't know where that came from, but it was great.
I think technically blancmange as well was always something that occasionally cropped up. You don't get blancmange anymore. Blancmange is a dead dessert.
Yeah,
do you ever see? Do you ever?
I've never, no. And I think probably that's quite a good thing, because I think it was probably hideous. But I seem to remember I was quite fond of it.
I remember it being nice, because it was kind of like, oh, can we have jelly? No, but you can have this pink warm thing that kind of looked like raw fish on a plate, and you tasted it. And if it wasn't made right, you'd burn the inside of your mouth, and then you had to eat the rest of it with a mouth that was on fire. And it's like, how was that? Was it nice? And you got like lemon blancmange. And,
oh yeah,
wow!
just
people are going to be listening and going, "What's blancmange? What is this blancmange thing?" It's
delicious. People should go out and try it. That's what I'm going to say. That's my.
I don't know if you can get it. Let's just check. Can you still get blancmange?
I'm sure if you try hard enough, you can probably make it.
It's probably going to be like a retro.
I don't even know what it's made of. I dread to think.
Blancmange. I don't know what it even is.
The worst thing for me with school dinners was at my primary school, my mum worked in the kitchen and my auntie worked in the kitchen. So on the days when my mum wasn't there, they would, if I wasn't eating my dinner, they would send for my auntie, and she would come into the classroom really angry. Like, what's the matter with you? Why aren't you eating that? I'd say, I don't like it. I've made that for you. What's wrong with it? I'd be like, none of the other children get this. Is anyone else's auntie coming into school to shout at them about their lunch? And then if it wasn't her, it was my mother. What's wrong with you? Just eat your lunch. You like that? I don't like this. You do? I don't. What is this? Cruelty. Wasn't fair. I still haven't forgiven them either. I'm not over that.
It sounds like it's a good thing to share, though. Share with the group.
Yeah,
Welcome to We're Not Wizards. Welcome to We're Not Wizards Childhood Dinner Time Therapy.
I feel a lot lighter, actually. I feel better for that.
Just a bit more, kind of,
Yeah, I feel a bit more space in my head. And
there you go. A bit more relaxed. It's kind of like meditating.
It is. Did you find Blancmange? Did you Google it?
I don't know how. I did. I found it, and you'd still get. But it was pictures from the Great British Bake Off, but it still seems to be like a hot jelly mess. A raspberry. I'm interested to find out what's a raspberry blancmange recipe. So everybody's listening, they're going, I have no idea what you're talking about. This is not the podcast we were looking for. I can't even. It's a big kid.
We were supposed to be talking about.
It doesn't matter. Prulis raspberry blancmange. There's recipes. I now have to make this. I started making meringues a couple of months ago, and I've got it down pat.
Oh, nice work.
It's it's just that's how you kind of do it. In terms of planning out when you're doing an event, I mean, do you have to take into account like a certain percentage of people kind of won't be interested in playing the games? I mean, how do you plan it? Do you have to have a sit down in a chat? Say if you're doing like say a party, do you have to have a sit down in a chat and say, okay, well, how old are the potential players? What kind of age group are they? Kind of, do you have to have a discussion about what they might enjoy and stuff like that? Is it a quite consultative type of organising type of thing?
I mean, essentially, I check that the room's lockable, and then I lock them in, and I make them play games. So that's okay, isn't it? No, yeah, it is quite consultative. Sorry. I do sometimes have at one of the pubs I do it at, we have a separate room, but you're allowed to be in the room and not play games. But whenever I say to people, hi, it's board games night, sometimes they'll like grab their drinks, like, oh, sorry, we're going. And it's like, please don't leave the room. It's okay. I'm not going to make you do anything you don't want to do. Like,
it's really because you got your cloak on. You're like this.
Yeah. It's because I'm approaching them with a board game under one arm and a dice.
Are you here to play board games? Are you here to play board games?
Do you want to play a game?
Exactly that kind of thing.
Yeah.
We take that off.
So
this half of this episode is going to be entirely useless because it's just mucking about.
Sorry, you're going to be cutting forever.
Now the sign language bit.
And then the interpretation.
I mean, if somebody sits down, then are they like, do you kind of like go through what they potentially might like if they play games and?
Yeah, so geekily enough, I have a massive spreadsheet with every game on that I own, and that gives you a little summary of how many people can play, what kind of difficulty level it is, like a summary of the game. And then if you book an event with me, I share that with you. And if you want to, you can go through it and tick which games you want me to bring. And if you can't be bothered, like, that's fine too. You can just tell me what kind of games that you like, and I'll bring similar games or those games. And then I just kind of use what I know. So if people say they like certain games, then, you can usually infer that they'll like others as well. You know what I mean? So you'll kind of, they'll give you a list and you're like, okay, so, you like Cranium. So I can pretty much guarantee that you'll like other games from that era, maybe Outburst or, you know what I mean? So I'll kind of just go round what they've asked for. So yeah. And then, like you say, get the ages, because if there's children there, but I don't do children's parties. I do parties for adults, just because, like, I like children. They're nice, but I don't want to end up doing like it's like the opposite of marketing, isn't it? I do like children, but I don't want to like do all the childcare. Like, I'm not interested in looking after them and trying to get them. So I say to people, like, they can dip in and out of games, that's fine. But if you're wanting to have a party for children, they need to be able to sit for a length of time, do you know what I mean? And play games. Otherwise, it's not for them. They're not getting the most out of it. It's more adults, really, that get more out of it, I think. So have you had
like folk come up to you after a session and say, right, you have converted me, I am now going to what games do you think I should play? Have you had folk that you've kind of have contacted you and said, right, that's it, I'm kind of gone full time into the hobby, I have created my profile on BGG, I went out and, I bought Kingdom Death Monster kind of thing.
Not so much that, but I think I definitely have people who have, like, especially at the regular events I do, like at the pubs that I do, who are regulars in the pub, and at the start we're a bit like, oh no, I don't play games, I'm all right. And then they'll see you playing a game and they come over and they're like, oh, what's that? What's that you do? And they gradually join in, because, it's fun and people want to join in. And so I've had that, and I've had people who have bought games off the back of playing them at my events. So a couple the other week bought a copy of Assembly because they'd played it at an event I taught it them and they really liked it.
Did they play it properly?
Yeah.
Did they play it properly?
I hope so. Why?
Do you not see Janice's little rant about people not playing Assembly properly?
No, I hope that's not me. I've been teaching it. Maybe that's me. Maybe I've taught it wrong to all these people.
Apparently
in what way
not.
are they playing it wrong?
I don't know, but Janice did a blog post about it because she put up a couple of photographs saying you're meant to put these bits here once you've locked them down and stuff like that. She wasn't best pleased. I don't know. It was all good fun.
Me, Janice, if you're listening, I've taught people correctly, like what you told me to.
I mean, in terms of the name, is it? I mean, if people don't enjoy the gaming session, do you kill them?
Yeah, not immediately. I mean, I like to give them a couple of chances, but in terms of the name, though, the amount of people who just don't get it, like the people who go, "That's a bit morbid," and you're like, "It's funny. It's a pun. It's die as in singular dice," and they're like, "Oh," really unimpressed. And I'm like,
I thought it was a bit passive aggressive, to be honest.
Yeah, well, I am a bit passive aggressive, so that suits me. But yeah, I thought it was being hysterically funny and witty and clever, which is always a dangerous path to go down, isn't it? When you start congratulating yourself for how amazingly clever you are. So, I'm hilarious. It's like, no, you're not. You're an idiot. Like,
especially if you have to explain it. Yeah. If you have to write it on your business card. I don't mean it. No, there's no violence here.
There's an image, for goodness sake. There's a picture of some cards and a die. So I thought that would be the clue, but apparently not. It's a word that's dropped out of usage, hasn't it? So, like, because I'm a massive grammar nerd, I'm like, well, it's die. It should be saying die. And everyone's like, no one cares anymore. Like, it's like being literally back in one of my lessons with kids going, no one even cares. Why are you even, what are you still talking? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, oh.
Do you know, I don't need to use the English language. You know, I'm telling you now, there's no point in learning English. I've never once been in the situation where, you know, I've had a flat tire and the works of Shakespeare has helped me. I'd like to point that out.
I'd like to say that I use Shakespeare regularly. The quote, "How sharper than a serpent's tooth it is to feel a daughter's ingratitude," is regularly bandied about in this house. My daughter just rolls her eyes at me. She just gives up. It's like, are you talking Shakespeare? Yes, I am, yes, because I'm very upset with you. It's a great line.
Get thee to a nunnery.
Get thee to a nunnery? Or I will drag thee there on a hit. I'll drag thee hither on a hurdle, or whatever it is.
I know. Yeah. No, I've always, the only thing I've ever thought about Shakespeare is I've never ever understood why they made kids read it and not perform it. Because it was a performance thing. So used to get everybody sitting class going, "Behold, the raven itself is horse that croaks the fatal entrance of..." Miss, why are you reading this? This is rubbish. But if you got them acting it, they absolutely loved it, which always confused me about Shakespeare. Do you have to be, how involved do you have to be when you're doing a session? Are you kind of like walking around? Do you have like a big colourful kind of outfit on with balloons and stuff? Kind of
like attached to me? Like, I have a load of helium balloons, so I kind of just float above the general proceedings.
That's
so
maybe an idea.
I can view all of the games. Yeah, no,
just to make sure anybody's struggling, you know, you can just like be doing that. You want to go like disco pie, just like float by and go. You don't want to do that.
I once, this is a terrible admission, walked up behind a couple of guys who were playing bananagrams and went, "Oh, no, you don't spell that like that." Leant over, this is bad, and moved the pieces. Realised that they were both looking at me a bit like horror struck, like, "You've touched our game pieces, we're in the middle of a game." And then I was like, "Oh, but you could have." And literally just carried on, rearranged his grid and went, "Oh, sorry." Just walked off. I was like, anyway.
Did you get invited back?
Well, it was my event, so yeah.
I suppose I'll be here all week.
They've been back as well. They have been back, so I didn't put them off too much. I just thought, if you do, as if you walk over and go, "Oh, you've done that wrong."
Oh, quick! It's the banana intervention woman.
Yeah. Oh God, it's that spelling woman. She's going to go on about how you spell things and how you know that it's spelt wrong. Well, it's because it's from the Latin root word of blah, blah, blah. So shut up! No one cares. So I go round and kind of, sometimes I sit with a group and teach a game, and then other times I'll kind of get them started. It just depends on how many people are there and what people are playing. If everybody knows what they're doing, I'll sit down with the group and play. But if people need a bit more guidance, then I just kind of circulate and just check everyone's all right, really, with what they're doing. And obviously that no one's spelt anything wrong.
Are you becoming more busy? I mean,
Yeah.
are you the type of person where you kind of get into the thing of, well, this is I'm actually needing to kind of put people in a queue. I'm needing to maybe turn down work. I'm having to put the prices up a bit. Is it getting to the point where you've got enough momentum now where you're just like saying, well, actually it was serious before, but now it's kind of like sustainable and potentially I can grow it?
I'm definitely getting to that point, but I wouldn't say I'm not at that point yet. I'm not turning work away unless it clashes with, long-standing. Because I have some regular bookings that are long-standing, so unless it clashes, then no, I'm not turning work away. But it's certainly becoming much more sustainable, and it's definitely growing. Since January, things have really picked up a lot, and I'm just into my second year. And everybody said, it takes 2 years, it takes 2 years. And I must admit, by the end of the end of the first year, I was thinking, is it going to work? Is it going to be? Is it going to work? But it is working. It is, but it's building quite slowly. And I have a lot of responsibilities at home. So part of that slow build has been because I do a lot of childcare. My son has autism, so I look after him a lot. And that has been, I feel that, and it's no bad thing, but I feel like had I had more time, I could have built the business more maybe not aggressively, but
no, I know what you mean, proactively in a bit.
Proactively, I could have chased more leads and been more on things, whereas to an extent I haven't, because a lot of my day is taken up with getting him into school and making sure that he's okay, and that's my priority at the moment. So
but then on the other side of it, you could have done an event that was a complete disaster, and then the business kind of went mew like that instead. So I mean, things grow as they are, and they kind of grow. I mean, in terms of, do you play games with your son? I mean, does he enjoy?
Games. Yeah. Well, it was me and him that used to play more, because my daughter was never very. She's more a fan of a quick game of something. She's not a one for sitting and playing. Whereas Edward, I can't remember how long ago I bought Escape from Cold. It's about 6 years ago. Because Edward, I'd been talking about it, and he was like, "Oh, I want to play it." So me and him played that. So he must have been 7. Whereas Molly is much less. She used to kind of, when she was that age, would kind of roll a dice and then walk off. And he'd be like, "Do you want to move it? Oh, shall I go for you?" Like, oh, and he used to get dead frustrated with her, of course, because that's just not him, is it?
Is that the board game version of like a mic drop? Just like,
it's like, I've had enough of this now, and off she go, and you're like, oh, all right then, I'll be 2.
It's a double 6. It's a 3 and a 4. No, it's a double 6. It's a 3 and a 4. When I roll it, it's a double 6. See you later, Mum. Bye. I'm off to text my friends.
Yeah. It's just me and Edward left. But and they quite like Monopoly, but whenever they play it, they have a massive row. So it's pretty much outlawed in our house, because he plays you can imagine, he plays rigidly by the rules.
Yeah.
Molly is more of a socialist. So Molly will lend you money if you've run out of money. So if you run out of money, she's like, "Oh, it's all right. I've got loads of money. You can have some of mine. There's enough money to go round. Like, if we pool our money, we've got plenty." And it's like, "Yes, Molly, yes, we have." And he's like, "That's not how it works." So me and her.
Capitalism for the win.
Yeah, it's just a pure, I don't know how they're both mine. She's totally socialist, and he's pure dead hard capitalist. So starving in the street, I sure look out. But she's share the money, and and when me and her play, if I say, "Oh, she lands on pink," and I'll say, "Oh, I'm collecting those, Molly," and she goes, "Oh, okay, well, I won't buy it." If you say that to him, he's like, "Yeah, that's why I'm buying it." You can buy it back off me later for a higher price. It's like, that's not how it works. But it is
That's what it says on page 4, where it says if you turn it down, it goes up for auction. It's like, what?
Page
is that
4,
even a rule?
section 3. Yeah.
It's like that, okay. All right, fine then.
Yeah.
Going forward, what's the plans? I mean, are you just kind of like, well, things are going, so let's kind of leave it going? Or have you sat down and said, right, okay, are you thinking about bringing somebody else on? I mean, is Cards or Die potentially like a franchise? I mean, could people be carding and dying everywhere?
Carding and dying.
Could it be like Fight Club? Did you start the Cards or Die up in Edinburgh? No, I thought you did. First rule of Cards or Die is, if it's your first night of Cards or Die, you have to play a board game.
You do. You're not allowed to leave the room until you play.
Not allowed to leave the room at all.
Enjoyed it. So long term, it would be lovely to think that I could do franchises. That would be amazing. Short term, I'm just going to keep building it gradually, working it around my other commitments. Yeah. And then, hopefully it'll just keep building and I'll keep growing it until, I'm hopeful that at some point I'll be able to take someone on. In the short term, I'm hoping I'll be able to take my children on at very cheap rates, once they're, how old do they have to be to work? 5. So I'm hoping I can go, well, I'll tell you what, I'll give you bed and board if you work 50 hours a week for me. I think that's fair.
Just sleep in the garage.
Yeah. Edward actually does sleep in the garage because we've had it converted. So that's actually
there you go. She's already there.
It's already there.
It's all fun. It's all fine.
Yeah,
it's not. You don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, it'd be great. It'd be great to take someone on, and I would obviously pay a living wage. I wouldn't just.
I was going to say, with you being an ex-teacher, I'm sure you'd get the tip off if, like, the social came round, didn't that?
I'd hope so. Yeah.
Get like the family worker on the phone saying, exactly. If people have listened along tonight and went, where can I get a recipe for a strawberry blancmange? No. You can find one on the bbc.com/recipes because it's actually on there. I couldn't believe it. I have been looking.
I can't believe it's on there, and I can't believe while I've been talking, if you've just been Googling blancmange.
All the way through. I've just been killing time. You kind of set me off on a path I don't know if I can follow, really. It's quite a scary path. If people want to find out where you exist on the internet webs, where do you exist on the internet webs?
I exist in all of the social media because that's what you have to do, isn't it, these days?
Yeah.
So I'm at Cards or Die, and I'm on the Instagram and the Twitter, and
and I'm on the Facebooks.
At Cards or Die Board Gaming on the Facebooks, and then my website is www.cardsorDie.com.
Okay,
that's me, and I'm doing a little competition at the moment if people want to subscribe to my website. Because I realised I've pushed all my other social media and then my website's a bit woeful. So it's not woeful. It's amazing. You should definitely visit it. It's really exciting. Woeful is the wrong word.
you missed out the N, the D, and the R for wonderful.
Hey, that was smooth. Good work. Yes, it's a wonderful website.
So what we'll do is we'll put all those links in the show notes so that we've got notes to show if you want to keep an eye on what we're up to. And I have no idea why so many of you do, to be perfectly honest. You can also find us on the internet webs if you go to the Googles, and if you search for We're Not Wizards, you'll find us on Twitter at We're Not Wizards, you'll find us on Facebook at We're Not Wizards, you'll find us on Instagram at We're Not Wizards, you'll find us on our website, which is we'renotwizards.com, our blog, which I mentioned. Janice Turner from Ren Games wrote us a piece recently, which is we'renotwizards.blogspot.com. You can find us on YouTube, which is it's a thing on YouTube. Just search for us, you'll find us. You'll find us in all the podcast catchers like Stitcher and Spreaker and Acast and Spotify. We're on Spotify. We're on Google Podcasts as well. We are everywhere like a virus getting out of control. If you want to email us, well, no, in a bad way. But if you want to email us, you can email us on magic@we'renotwizards.com. If you want to, you can DM us on Twitter, because just do it. And if you want to keep an eye on what we're up to podcast-wise, you can jump onto all the podcast catchers. Find us there. If you like what you've listened to tonight, then we'll do two things, okay? Tell someone else, because word of mouth always helps us grow. And secondly, if you go to Apple Podcasts, drop us a subscription, a rating, or a review. And as we say, if you do give us a rating or a review, don't give us 10 stars, because it makes us big-headed. But don't give us 1 star, because it's like, makes us like a cold raspberry Blancmanche. They give us something in the middle, like 5, because it's average. And we're just a little bit average. But the person who's not being average tonight is rather wonderful, rather fantastic. Anne Jones from Cards or Die. Thank you for coming on.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's been lovely.
That's all right. There's only 2 more things to do. First thing is to remember that we are many things, but we're not wizards. Are we wizards, Anne?
No, you are not.
Are you a wizard?
No, I am also not.
That is very good. And the second thing is to say goodbye. So it's a goodbye from Anne. Say goodbye, Anne.
Goodbye, Anne. Sorry.
That's a goodbye for every single time. That's a goodbye from me. Remember, stay safe, roll 6s. And if you're going to be in Leeds and you want to have an event, be it like a birthday, a party, wedding, an office event, some training, some corporate stuff, some non-corporate stuff, some team building, some non-team building, some solo games, some joint games, some board games, check out Cards or Die and get them along, because they do some fantastic work. But until the next time, goodbye.
A wizard is never late. Nor is he early. He arrives precisely when he means to.